when we say that, this is more or less done, we need to be careful, because that is what previously, Raila and Azimio and, all those formations where I also used to be part of, we used to say we have won, but because we did not, focus on the last mile phase of the politics, then we ended up being played. So that is why advanced planning, as I'm suggesting, is something that is important to do, so that by this year it becomes clear that it is not just the two groups. There is also a third group, which is a contender, and for us to excite our people. We actually know the problems. So when it comes to, what are the problems, we know what they are, and we know what the enemies of the people are. And the next step normally is, what is the agenda? What is the manifesto? What is to be done? Those issues of big government, of debt, of taxation, of corruption, of incompetent leadership. One can add rule of law, constitutionalism, implementing the constitution. One can add youth empowerment, private sector. One can, from all our conversations, we have actually discussed these things, and also to some extent we know who is passionate about actually driving this kind of agenda, although still this agenda has to be validated, and we have to make it the public participation that we were talking about. It is important to have a structure of getting the people also to own that agenda, to add, to subtract, so that it is a truly people driven agenda. And I think we are still stuck at that level of concretizing the agenda, of the structure of doing that. So that now it is clear that there is now a group that is faithful to our people, and our people resonate with it. If we don't do that, then, by end of year, it's possible that, or beginning of next year, it's possible that our people will say, we have to deal with what we can see available, clearly available. And again, the danger of going back to the old stuff becomes extremely real. Now, I want to say that anytime there have been movements that are pro people, that have tried to really push for what is different from what we had from colonialism, what we had at independence, the existing governments, Mau Mau was tribeless. It was actually, a lot of people, trade unions were there, Asians were there. It was tribeless. Also in the 80s and 90s, those who worked for return to multipartism, for the new constitution through NCA, NCC, again tribeless. Gen Zs against tribeless. And in a very curious way, those who rule over us, one could say they are tribeless tribalists. Why do I say tribeless tribalists? Because they organize at ethnic basis. They have a party which is dominantly ethnic. They have the counties themselves are 47, and there are about 46 ethnic groups. So again, the counties which are dominated by these parties, which may have a kingpin and from one group. But then, when they now begin to rule, and I'm using that word very guardedly, they come together and they merge. Actually, they themselves don't know about which tribe you're from as a leader, as those leaders, those rulers. They come together so that they become tribeless. So we need to understand, how through the political parties that they have, how through the manipulation of ethnicity when they are knowing that at the end they are of the same class, same group. So we have to, now show people that that kind of quote quote tribalness is inimical to the changes that people require. Now, when we talk about parliament, like we need to get to parliament and so on, you can't do that without long-term organization. You can't say I'll just start in 2027 and it will happen. It won't happen. And even if we are the president, who is very progressive, but there's no parliament, they would not get far. They would be destabilized, they might even be impeached. So serious work is needed so that people can control parliament, they can control counties, they can control, the ward assemblies and stuff like that. Now, something that is happening, and I've noticed it happening, is when we develop ideas in all these forums that we have, particularly in the X spaces, actually, the current opposition uses them and they might get a spin to them. Like we were talking a lot about a parallel IBC. I think already now it has been decided that they are going to have a parallel IBC. And even this idea of young people, the Gen Zs, are very, very important. Many of those groups are trying to woo them, either to destroy them, to co-opt them, to do all those kinds of things, because all of them know that if the Gen Z, Gen Y get organized and they have impact on the next elections, that is the biggest danger that they all see in unison, and they can even combine to defeat that. And that's why there are all these tactics, like now trying to impose a leadership of the Gen Zs, or appearing that it has split, so that they can weaken, and showing that some of them are betrayers, so that now it can be said all of them, all the Gen Zs are betrayers and stuff like that. So I think the focus really, currently, most of the focus is on the Gen Zs. Are they going to come together? And if they do so and they organize, that is the greatest danger. And I think it's important to maybe get a meeting with some of the civil society, like Kenya Human Rights Commission, Katiba Institute, and so on, to really get a brief of this and Law Society of Kenya, so that we can say that these things are valuable, they will be accepted in court, and all that kind of stuff. That I think becomes very, very important. And so the public perception of also the recall, preparation for, recalling these people voted, against the people. Now, this side shows they will continue, and we have to find a way of avoiding them, so that we focus from the very beginning. I think the first speaker talked about focus, what should be done, because after a short while, there's something new, another something new, so that we get distracted, so that we can't plan, we can't begin to organize, and so on. And so finally, as I said, I'll not talk about the chiefs for now, because I think that hasn't been the discussion so far. But there was a time, I think we tried to make the point that we need like not so much a council of eminent persons, because we don't want to make some people very big. Maybe a council of patriots. That is, a group of people, people who we trust them. We think that they can kind of help steward what we are trying to birth, but they will sign that they don't want to vie. They don't even want to be in cabinet. Their role is just to midwife this change of who will come on board to be able to implement the constitution, and then there is like a movement, this Gen Z movement, or June 25 movement, or whatever one will call it. And within that movement, you have political parties which are progressive. You have, whether it's civil society, whether it is all the people who want to really be in that movement for substantive change, and people want to stand, and you have the presidential candidates are there, the county people want to stand there, the MPs, people at the ward level, so that Kenyans can see now a picture which will convince them that, this is different. This is us. This will do what we want done. So I think let me end there. And I think if we delay in terms of showing the citizenry this new thing that can make a difference, then it means that some of the progressive people will just give up and maybe, do their mundane things. And even the young people will be more frustrated. Some of them will think now, since we can't do this thing democratically, what are other avenues of doing it? One wants the peace, not the quiet, which erupts into something else. Because change that is measured, change that is planned, and change where the majority are involved, it's normally better. And we don't want to get to a situation where we think that that option is not available. And I keep on saying that we must not underestimate those who are, in position, because like now the IBC is something that they are more or less now controlling. If when we discuss about the chiefs, we'll be able to demonstrate how again they are really trying to make the ground be controlled by those chiefs, and we shall explain now. So I'm thinking that when we say that, this is more or less done, we need to be careful, because that is what previously, Raila and Azimio and, all those formations where I also used to be part of, we used to say we have won, but because we did not, focus on the last mile phase of the politics, then we ended up being played. So that is why advanced planning, as I'm suggesting, is something that is important to do, so that by this year it becomes clear that it is not just the two groups. There is also a third group which is a contender, and for us to excite our people. Thank you, and I yield.
Thanks for watching. This is Sophia Live.